beach with umbrella # Leo and the Sunny Bay Adventure, the big summer vacation. It all started on an ordinary Tuesday evening at the dinner table. 7-year-old Leo was chasing the peas on his plate with his fork when his mother Clara and his father David smiled mysteriously at each other. Dad David cleared his throat. "Leo, we have news for you. You know that calendar hanging on the wall?" Leo looked up. "Yes. It only says my dentist appointment on it." His mother Clara laughed. "Not anymore. 1 week from today, we will get in the car, leave the city behind, and go to a place where the sea is turquoise and the sand is gold, called Sunny Bay. We are going on vacation, Leo." Leo's eyes went wide. The pea on his fork rolled off and fell onto the table. "Vacation? Really? Will I be able to swim? Can I build a sandcastle? Can I eat ice cream?" "All of that and more," said his father. "But first, we have to be patient. There are exactly 7 days." That evening, Leo hung a huge piece of paper on his bedroom wall and drew 7 big boxes on it. This was his big vacation countdown calendar. From that moment on, time began to flow slowly, as if honey had been poured into it. Hours didn't pass at school, and he couldn't fall asleep at night. Every morning, as soon as he woke up, Leo ran to the calendar and marked another day with a huge red X. Finally, the day before the expected day arrived, the big packing day. The living room had turned into an exploded clothing store. The open suitcases on the floor lay with their mouths wide open, like hungry monsters waiting to swallow the clothes. His mother Clara was running around with a list in her hand. "Sunscreen? Check. Hats? Check. Leo, could you please take your flippers down from the top of the TV?" Leo was busy packing his own small blue suitcase. The problem was, Leo wanted to take everything. He was trying to stuff a huge fire truck, 12 dinosaur figures, and a thick wool sweater he wore last winter, just in case, into the suitcase. The suitcase's zipper groaned in pain. His father David walked into Leo's room and shook his head when he saw the scene. "Leo, we can't carry the whole room to the vacation spot. You have to choose only the most important things." Leo pouted. He took out the fire truck. He eliminated half of the dinosaurs. But then he remembered something terrible. Where was his best friend, the 8-armed plush octopus Barnaby? "Barnaby," shouted Leo. "I can't go without him. He's never seen the sea, he'll be scared." A frantic search began for half an hour. Under the beds, behind the sofas, even inside the fridge were checked. Finally, Barnaby was found at the very bottom of the dirty laundry basket, wrapped in a sock. Leo hugged Barnaby tightly and placed him in a safe corner at the very top of the blue suitcase. "Don't worry, Barnaby," he whispered. "I will never leave you behind." The morning of the vacation was one of the weirdest mornings Leo had ever experienced. Because it wasn't morning, it was still night. At 4 a.m., his father gently shook him. "Wake up, vacationer," whispered David. "Time to hit the road." Leo rubbed his eyes. It was pitch black outside. Normally, waking up at this hour would be scary, but today it was magical. He took off his pajamas and put on his vacation clothes. The house was quiet. When they got into the car, the air was cool, and the street lamps were pouring their tired yellow light onto the roads. The city was sleeping. Only they and a few trucks were awake. His father started the engine. The car's headlights illuminated the dark street. As his mother Clara poured coffee from her thermos, she asked, "Are we ready, crew?" Leo shouted from the back seat with Barnaby in his lap, "Ready, Captain." As the car moved, Leo looked out the window. The streets, buildings, and parks he knew were being left behind. The adventure had officially begun. By the time the sun rose, the city was long gone. Outside the window, there were no longer high buildings, but endless green fields, grazing cows, and spinning wind turbines. The first few hours were exciting. Leo told Barnaby about the world outside. Together with his mother, they made the clouds look like animals. One looked exactly like an elephant. They sang along to the cheerful songs his father played. However, at the end of the third hour, the car seat didn't feel so comfortable anymore. Leo's legs went numb. He had colored every page in his coloring book. "Dad," said Leo with boredom. "Are we there yet?" His father smiled in the rearview mirror. "Not yet, Leo. A little more patience." Half an hour later, Leo asked again, "How about now? Are we there?" His mother Clara said, "Leo, every time you ask, the road gets 5 minutes longer." Leo sighed and rested his head against the window. Just as his eyes were about to close, his father shouted excitedly, "Hey, look over there." Leo looked up. In the distance, where the hills ended, there was a deep blue, shimmering line merging with the sky. This looked nothing like the grey buildings of the city. This looked like infinity. "The sea!" shouted Leo. He pressed Barnaby against the window. "Look, Barnaby. Here we go." As the car passed the Sunny Bay sign and drove down the winding road, a new smell hit Leo's nose. A salty, fresh, and mossy smell. This was the smell of vacation. When they parked in front of the small, whitewashed guest house where they would stay, Leo jumped out of the car. The air was hot, and the sun tickled his skin. From the distance came the sound of waves, whoosh, whoosh. The smiling lady who ran the guest house welcomed them and gave them the key to their room. When they entered the room, Leo immediately ran to the balcony. The view was breathtaking. The turquoise sea was right under his feet, and the beach shone like a golden carpet spread out before them. "Come on," said Leo, jumping up and down while trying to put on his swimsuit. "The sea is waiting for us. We can unpack later." His mother and father laughed and agreed with him. The suitcases were left as they were. Sunscreen was applied, hats were put on, and the first steps were taken toward the beach of Sunny Bay. The moment Leo's foot touched the sand, warmth spread from his fingertips to his whole body. Getting rid of his shoes felt amazing. He ran to the edge of the sea. The first touch of water. Cold. Leo let out a scream and pulled back. But then a small wave came and tickled his ankles. The water was clear, the small pebbles at the bottom and curious tiny fish were visible. His father David held his hand. "Come on, let's go in together. On 3. 1, 2, 3. They plunged into the water together. The coldness passed in an instant, replaced by a refreshing relief. Leo swam with laughter, climbed on his father's shoulders to jump into the water, and had a water fight with his mother. Barnaby the octopus, since he didn't like getting into the water, watched them while sunbathing on the towel on the shore. When they came out of the water, It was time for the most important mission, building a sandcastle. Leo got to work with his red bucket and shovel. He wasn't just going to build a castle, he was going to build a whole kingdom. His mother collected seashells to decorate the castle walls. His father dug a moat filled with water around the castle so that enemy crabs couldn't get in. By late afternoon, Leo was tired but was the happiest child in the world. His skin felt slightly tight from the sun and salt. The sound of waves was still in his ears. The ice cream they ate that evening was the most delicious ice cream he had ever tasted. The days at Sunny Bay passed as quickly as hats flying in the wind. Every day meant a new adventure. One day they went on a boat tour, and Leo saw a sea turtle for the first time in his life. Another day, they went for a hike in the woods and found a secret waterfall. And then, the inevitable day came. The last day. When he woke up in the morning, Leo had a bittersweet feeling inside. He looked at the sea from the balcony. The sea was still shining with the same joy, but Leo was a little sad. They went into the sea for the last time. Leo tried to etch the coolness of the water, the warmth of the sun, and the sound of the waves into his mind so he wouldn't forget this moment. In the afternoon, that terrible suitcase monster reappeared. But this time, the suitcases were filled not only with clothes but also with memories. The most beautiful seashells Leo had collected, the funny hat his father bought, and a flower his mother had dried. All were placed in the suitcase. Leo took Barnaby in his arms and went down to the beach one last time. "Goodbye, Sunny Bay," he whispered toward the sea. "Thank you for being good to us. We'll come back next year, I promise." The way back was much quieter. Leo dozed off in the back seat with his sun-bleached hair and tanned skin. He held Barnaby in his lap and a smooth, white stone he had taken from the beach in his hand. It was dark when the city lights began to appear. When they passed through the familiar streets and arrived in front of their own house, Leo felt a strange relief. When they entered the house, it smelled a bit stuffy inside, but it was a familiar smell. It was the smell of home. Leo went into his room. His bed was waiting for him. The countdown calendar was still hanging on his wall, with all the boxes marked off. When he lay in his bed, he realized how soft his own pillow was. He closed his eyes. He could still feel the swaying of the sea. He still had the scent of sunscreen and salt in his nose. The vacation was over, yes. But it wasn't a bad thing that it was over. Because now he had wonderful stories to tell, seashells to line up on his windowsill, and a whole year to dream about the next vacation. Leo hugged Barnaby. Just as good as going away, he thought right before falling asleep. Coming home is good too. Good night, Leo. Good night, sweet memories.